What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including why the WWE changed the name Twist of Fate, Raw also airing from the Performance Center, whether SmackDown's ratings went up or down, how are AEW and WWE still running shows, a Raw superstar moving to SmackDown, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. But let's waste no further time and get straight into the first bit of news as we look at why WWE changed the name Twist of Fate. Jeff Hardy returned to in-ring action on the 13th March episode of SmackDown, defeating King Corbin with a musical assist from Elias, hitting his finisher, the Twist of Fate, on the King. However, Cole called the move Twist of Fury, leading fans to wonder whether Cole had a slip of the tongue. But it turns out the WWE can't use the name Twist of Fate anymore. According to PW Insider, Jeff's Twist of Fate was called the Twist of Fury on SmackDown by Michael Cole on commentary, as Matt Hardy has exited the company and owns the trademark on that term. However, PW Insider may be wrong, as Matt Hardy cleared things up in a tweet saying, "I did not. The WWE and Jeff are completely free to use Twist of Fate. The change 100% came on their end. I wouldn't ever do anything to hinder my brother. I'm thrilled to see him back on WWE television looking healthy and happy." So if Matt hasn't trademarked it, why did they change the name? Did they just not want anything associated with Matt Hardy anymore since he didn't re-sign with the company? And before you think that's stupid, well, this is Vince. Next up, Monday Night Raw is airing from the Performance Center. Now, if you didn't like the latest edition of SmackDown that took place at the Performance Center with no crowd, then you're probably not gonna like Raw this week, as the WWE will be making the same precautions. Raw was scheduled to air from the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, but it has now been moved to the WWE Performance Center. Similar to SmackDown, only essential personnel will be in attendance. It's a shame because, again, like SmackDown, it's going to be a loaded show with Stone Cold Steve Austin celebrating 316 Day and the official contract signing of The Undertaker vs AJ Styles. But did no crowd actually help the WWE in ratings? Now, Friday Night SmackDown brought in its best numbers in some time, with the Wrestling Observer Figure 4 Online's Paul Fontaine reporting, "Last night's episode averaged 2.588 million viewers, the second best number since November 8th. In the 18 to 49 demo, the show averaged a 0.7 rating, trailing only Shark Tank on network television. It did finish first in the 18 to 34 with a 0.5 rating. In total, SmackDown was up 5.6% from last week. It had the same rating as last week in the 18 to 49 and was up 25% in the 18 to 34 demos. There's much to take away from these ratings. Did more viewers tune in due to a curiosity factor over how the show would look in an empty arena? That's likely a factor, but what of sports fans who are experiencing a drought as Major League sports are on hiatus? Granted, professional wrestling is not an actual sporting event, but wrestling has always enjoyed a crossover from pro sports. But how are the WWE and AEW still running shows? While wrestling fans are undoubtedly happy to still get their weekly fix of professional wrestling, some fans are wondering how the WWE and AEW are still able to get past the bans on public gatherings currently in effect in many parts of the United States. The man with all the answers, Dave Meltzer, speculated on the situation during an episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio. The thing is, and it's very fortunate for WWE and AEW, that WWE owns that gym so they can tape there with no fans and no one can shut them down. AEW, while they don't own that building, Daly's Place, they don't own that building, they can kinda run that building like a closed set in theory. Daly's Place, a 5,500 seat venue, is owned by the city of Jacksonville, which means AEW could find itself scrambling to find another location if Jacksonville bans the promotion from filming Dynamite, even if it is close to the public. However, Cody confirms AEW shows will still go on. AEW Executive Vice President Cody Rhodes was asked by a fan whether AEW should continue its storyline since Dynamite is planned to run without an audience. Rhodes responded, "A lot of folks are sitting at home, some scared, all bored. Just like real community leaders have come forward, entertainment leaders have to follow suit, safely. People need to laugh, cry, forget, love, and all the good stuff. My personal opinion, we shouldn't hold back. Last week's edition of SmackDown showed that wrestling can continue storylines in an empty venue, so why not Dynamite? Storylines are a key aspect of professional wrestling in the United States, and promotions should continue their storylines since it could be some time before they can run shows in front of fans. Next up, a Raw superstar moving to SmackDown. The announcement that retired New England Patriots football superstar Rob Gronkowski is going to work in the WWE has people talking, including Gronk's real-life BFF, WWE superstar Mojo Rawley. Rawley, who is currently a member of the Raw roster, appeared on SmackDown and announced he'd be on the 20th March edition of the Blue Brand alongside his friend Gronk. Although Rawley is still listed as a Raw superstar, there's rumors he could move to SmackDown. Next up, Jim Ross shoots on Jim Cornette. Thanks to podcasts, fans get to hear wrestlers and wrestling personalities' take on everything in and out of the squared circle. Jim Ross discussed Jim Cornette's frequent criticism of AEW wrestling, including Cornette's remark labeling AEW as all petite wrestling due to its abundance of normal-sized wrestlers. During his Grillin' JR podcast, Ross observed,
"He's the kind of guy that very rarely has a compromising moment. He's very set in his ways. He knows what he likes. He knows how wrestling, in his view, should be positioned. And I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just that sometimes the message gets a little bit, I think, coarse, very overly generalized. You know, we know what we have. We know what we need. I think basically Corny's pointing out the obvious. He's not provided any information that I've seen that's new and revolutionary. It's the same thing many of us say behind the scenes. There are things we need to do, but look, these kids are working their ass off, Conrad, and they're not all giants. But you go back and look, your father-in-law, Ric Flair's not a giant.
No.
He did pretty good in his career. He might be 6 feet. He might be, right?
Yeah, I think he's probably realistically 5'10" or 5'11".
Yeah. Buddy Rogers was 5'8" or 9".
That's right.
Jim Londos was 5'6". You go back in all these years, every generation.
This is worth mentioning too, and I don't have Corny and I are friendly, but we don't exchange birthday cards or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Some of his shtick is for entertainment purposes.
Bingo.
It's a podcast, and I think so many fans get knee deep in the weeds that they just. This is a guy who gets that funny ha-ha has its place in wrestling. I mean, you can go watch some of the stuff they did in Smoky Mountain and the stuff he grew up on in Memphis. Some of those elements are in AEW today, but if what's hot right now is him shitting on AEW, he's going to do more of what's working, right?
While it's true that AEW doesn't have a bunch of roided out muscle heads, the promotion has some of the best wrestling taking place today. The argument can be made that performers such as Marco Stunt are too small to be credible opponents, but the rest of AEW's roster is still impressive. Next up, Booker T doesn't think Bischoff belongs in the WWE Hall of Fame with NWO. There's still controversy concerning the WWE Hall of Fame inducting the New World Order without Eric Bischoff, the man who came up with the concept behind the faction. However, during his Hall of Fame podcast, two-time WWE Hall of Famer Booker T argued that Bischoff doesn't deserve to be inducted alongside Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall and Sean Waltman as the New World Order because WCW began its slowest descent into oblivion when Eazy-E started performing as an on-screen character. Although he praised Bischoff for his other accomplishments, including getting wrestlers much higher salaries, he feels he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, at least for the New World Order. Now we think Booker T is wrong in this case, as Bischoff was the creative force driving the NWO and he played an effective corrupt authority figure long before Vince McMahon did. And finally, Cesaro comments on a crowdless match. Surreal is a word many fans use to describe Friday's empty arena edition of SmackDown, and WWE superstar Cesaro used it as well. Describing his match against Daniel Bryan, the Swiss Superman commented, "If you would have told me 10 years ago when I was wrestling in the Independents in front of 12 or 20 people that I would wrestle Daniel Bryan in front of nobody, I would have believed you. But not if you said, yeah, it's gonna be for WWE, you know what I mean. On Fox, on nationwide television, this is pretty surreal and it shows the dedication WWE has to put on original, fun programming." Surreal it was, but it was also some much needed entertainment. But there you have it guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.